Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I'm doing the work, so why am I still dealing with this? You're trying to change, you're training, you're eating better, you're working on your mind, you're praying, you're trying to respond differently. And then one bad day happens. You lose your patience. You overthink. You fall back into an old habit. And suddenly, your mind says, see, nothing's changed. But what if that's not true? What if you're measuring your progress by the wrong thing? I've had to learn this myself, especially through training. You can work on something for weeks and still have a workout where you feel like you're going backwards. You're tired. Your breathing isn't where you want it to be. Something just doesn't feel right. And it's easy to judge the entire process by that one day. But then you look back and you realize you couldn't do what you're doing now 6 months ago. The progress was happening. I just wasn't noticing it. And I think we do the same thing with our lives. We're so focused on who we haven't become that we don't notice who we're already becoming. And here's the part that gets interesting. Your brain, it's really good at finding what's wrong. You lose your patience. You miss the workout. You fall back into an old thought. You react the way you promised yourself you wouldn't. Your mind immediately highlights it. There it is. But what about the moments it doesn't highlight? You caught yourself before reacting. You took a breath. You went for a walk instead of staying trapped in your head. You kept a promise to yourself. You apologized. You tried again. Those moments might feel small, but they're not small. They're evidence. Here's something I want you to consider. Maybe the victory isn't that you never get triggered anymore. Maybe the victory is that you notice it sooner. Maybe you still get angry, but you don't stay angry as long. Maybe you still have anxious thoughts, but you don't automatically believe it. Maybe you still fall back into an old pattern, but you recognize it and come back faster. That's progress. Because healing doesn't necessarily mean the trigger disappears. Sometimes it means what happens after the trigger changes. And that's a massive difference. Think about self-trust. You don't just decide one morning, I trust myself. You build it. You make a promise and keep it. You fall down and you get right back up. You make a mistake And instead of attacking yourself, you learn from it. You experience discomfort. And instead of immediately running, you stay with yourself. Every one of those moments tells your mind, I can count on me. And eventually, those small experiences start changing your identity. You don't have to keep telling yourself you're becoming stronger. You have evidence. There's an ancient idea that says, don't despise small beginnings. I think that's incredibly relevant to transformation because we want the breakthrough. We want the dramatic before and after. We want to wake up one morning and feel like a completely different person. But most real change doesn't look like that. It's quiet. It's repetitive. And sometimes it's boring. But nobody sees it. You make a better choice. And then another. You fall short. You begin again. And eventually, you look back and realize, I'm not who I used to be. Here's the path. Start collecting evidence. Not evidence that you're failing. Evidence that you're becoming. Tonight, ask yourself 3 questions. Where did I respond differently today? Where did I keep a promise to myself? And where did I choose the new pattern, even if it was for a moment? That's it. Start there. Because your mind needs evidence. Your nervous system needs new experiences. And your identity, it needs repetition. You don't have to convince yourself that you're changing. Give yourself enough evidence, and eventually, you'll know. So before you decide that you're not making progress, look back. Look at what used to control you. Look at what doesn't control you quite as much anymore. Look at the things you can handle today that you couldn't handle before. Look at the moments where you chose differently. Those count. You may not be where you want to be, but don't confuse I'm not there yet with I'm not moving. Sometimes you're so focused on the mountain ahead that you forget to turn around and see how far you've already climbed. That's your evidence. And if this gave you a different way to look at your own journey, like the video, subscribe, and follow, and stay with me for the next part of this. If you want practical tools to start working with your nervous system every single day, grab the free Full Armor Nervous System Reset Guide. If you want to go even deeper, check out the Full Armor 21-Day Method. I've put the links below. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep becoming who you were created to be.